Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another very interesting combination that we should see some really nice results from. It's a relatively new choke. We've only done one test with it a week or two ago, and we definitely had some pretty nice results for a starting point. And with today's shell combo, I expect it to look pretty good as well. But as for today's shell that we've got out here, I brought out some of these, the Winchester Longbeard XR loads, but these ones are the 12 gauge 3.5 inch 2 ounce payload of 4s moving about 1200 feet per second. So these 3.5 inch Longbeards, we've tested them several times on the channel, both 4s and 6s, and they are pretty ridiculous to say the least. So we know we have a good shell, but how are they going to react through today's choke? And as for the setup I've brought out here today, I got out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag, but I threw in this choke. This is a factory Mossberg Ulti-Full turkey choke. It's the extended one. Now this specific 835 came with what Mossberg calls the turkey full, which is a flush 710 constriction turkey choke. But I had several requests from you guys that you wanted to see the extended Mossberg turkey choke, so I picked up this one. We tested it a week or two ago with some 3-inch Longbeard 6s with some good results, but this one in particular is a 695 constriction, so a little tighter than my stock flush turkey choke, but it's still a Mossberg stock turkey choke that would have come in some 835s and stuff. So I think we've got a good constriction, and Mossberg stock chokes seem to do pretty well when it comes to turkey shells, so we should have a pretty nice combination here. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey target at 40 yards. I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity. So enough talking, let's get you guys a view of this target and take this shot and see just what kind of pattern we can get from the 3.5 inch Longbeard 4s through the 835 with an old stock Mossberg Ulti-Full extended turkey choke. Alright, so now we're up here at our chronograph, and that shell gave us 1262. The boss claim is 1200, so we are a little bit above that, but considering we do typically see mid 1200s out of these Longbeard 3.5 inch shells, I think we're pretty well right where we're supposed to be. Definitely nothing strange as far as velocity, and with a lead 4 at mid 1200s, you're absolutely going to hammer some turkeys at 40 yards. But what kind of a pattern did it actually give us down at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what we got. Alright, well, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is the devastation that we got. I would think it's safe to say that that turkey is absolutely crushed, considering that probably 85 to 90% of our shot is right there on the paper, and probably a good 75% of it is within that 10-inch ring on that turkey paper. That is a heck of a pattern right there. Now, I do think we were maybe an inch off to the right, so I think the main core is just in front of his neck there, but I don't think it would have really mattered in this scenario, considering you have 4 or 5 through the brain, several more down the spine, and there's nowhere on that paper he can move to and get away from you. That's going to absolutely hammer at 40 yards. Now, around the edges, we do see a couple little strings and flyers around the very outskirt edges. There's one flyer way down there at the bottom, but these are a lead Longbeard shell going through a factory stock choke, so that is absolutely normal considering the 100 tests we've done with shells like this before. With a lead turkey shell, you are going to have a couple of flyers, so definitely nothing too concerning there at all, and I don't think we can really have too much room to complain about it when we have a pattern like that. These are lead 4s, which can be a little tricky sometimes to get to actually pattern the way you want them to. You have less shot in your overall pattern, so it can be a little bit splotchy or sparse in the middle of your pattern if you don't have a hot core, and if you do have a handful of flyers, it's really going to be noticeable. However, this combo gave us a pattern that you just can't argue with. That is a 40+ yard pattern. I would hate to see what that pattern looks like at 15, 20, 25 yards. I mean, you're going to have a straight up baseball at that kind of a distance. It already doesn't give you too much leeway, even all the way out here at 40 yards. So I would say that's a 40, 45, 50 yard type of turkey pattern. And you would most likely run out of energy with those pellets before you would actually run out of pattern performance. So if you wanted a field setup, I think that one would be a pretty decent choice right there. That's for sure. You got a pattern that can hold up at that kind of range, and you've got a pellet that carries more energy than something like a lead 6 would or something like that. So no complaints at all from me on that one. And that old Ulti-Full turkey choke for being a stock choke, once again, Mossberg seems to have made a pretty good one. You definitely can't complain about that result, that's for sure. I wouldn't be scared in the slightest to hunt with that. Might get a little hairy in at those real tight close quarters type of shots, but that's a pretty nasty pattern overall there. So definitely a thumbs up for me on this one. Okay, here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, it is just your typical Longbeard style wad, but the 3.5-inch ones are a little bit longer, and they are red in color as compared to the gray one in typical Longbeard shells. And this one looks perfectly fine. There's a little bit of buffer down in there, but no major damage or tears or holes or anything like that, and I clearly think it did what it was supposed to do for today. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? That is completely devastating. A lead 4 with that kind of a hot core area, it's gonna absolutely crush it downrange. So once again, the Longbeard 3.5-inch shells look great, and that older stock Ulti-Full Mossberg turkey choke really seems to do pretty decently. It is more than usable, and when it's giving you patterns like that, do you really need a reason to change to an aftermarket choke? I don't know. That's pretty hard to argue with there, that's for sure. So after seeing what that choke can do, I really want to bring it out here and run it side by side with my stock flush choke. I know I asked you guys last time we tested this extended turkey choke if you wanted to see a comparison, and a lot of you guys said yes. So I think once we get another shell or two through this extended choke and really get an idea of what it likes and how it performs, we'll definitely bring them out here and see if there's one that's clearly better than the other as far as stock Mossberg turkey chokes go. So that's definitely going to be pretty interesting. But as for today's results, I think that choke did pretty well. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see, or were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the 3.5-inch Longbeard 4s, or do you have one of the older extended Ulti-Full Mossberg turkey chokes? And if so, what kind of results have you seen out of it? Would you hunt with that kind of a pattern? Or maybe is that a little bit too tight for you, or the 3.5-inch shell is a little bit too much recoil for you, or anything like that? Let me know all your thoughts about it down in the comments, as well as maybe what are some other shells you might want to see run through that choke. Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox. You can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.